I've opened my pot of Play-Doh. It is indeed pink, and the smell isn't as bad as I remember. Maybe they've changed the formula.
Yeah, they must have. You can make Play-Doh yourself, you know.
I know, but this is a
You're
present.
desperate for it.
I'm not desperate for it, but when a friend of mine a client got some as a present, I thought, oh, I think I'd probably quite like some of that.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Morning caller.
A bit blooming early for me, I can tell you.
I can't quite believe we're doing this again 3 days after the other one.
I know. But we'll press on regardless.
Yes, I'm thinking, surely I haven't got something to tell Nicola after only 3 days. Anyway, tell me how your day went yesterday, or are you saving that for another section?
No, I'll tell you about it. It's going to obviously inform some of my input today.
Indeed.
I turned up at County Hall, which is an extremely nice venue, I have to say.
Indeed, it is, yes. Outside the London Eye.
Yeah, absolutely. And my hotel room at Travelodge.
Yeah, I think there are a few hotels in there, aren't there?
Yeah, it was. I chose the nearest one, and also they were standing the expenses, so they sort of made that suggestion. And I was really impressed with it. It was very comfortable. It was like every other hotel room. The bed was fantastic. There was plenty of pillows, which is always one of my things. And it was really good. And then I woke up the next morning, went for breakfast, and then we were meeting at 8 o'clock in the foyer, and I was the first one there, which surprised me.
Yes.
I don't know what happened to the other two at all. They arrived for their panel, but they didn't arrive for the briefing. But we all just wandered around and very professional setup. Nearly 500 people there. It was quite amazing.
Good.
And we were on first, which was great. So there was an introduction by the president of the ICF, and then there was us. And that went on for about, I don't know, half an hour, three-quarters of an hour. But it was a discussion, led by, informed by questions from the audience.
Yeah.
And we all had 3 minutes to do our thing first. And of course, speaking first thing means that everyone knows who you are, and they keep coming and finding you. They come and find you, or they talk to you when they see you the rest of the day.
Yes, okay.
And then later I had a breakout session at 12:10 precisely.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, everything that could have gone wrong in that one did go wrong, but it made them real, because I was doing a live demonstration of how I create content, and then I got 6 or 7 of them on the stage to represent YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, blah 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 blah, and they all passed my phone between them. So I was demonstrating the fact that after initially creating the content, I don't touch the content again until it appears on my Instagram account.
Yep.
And I think they got, I got that over, in spite of my fact my phone wouldn't record the middle bit because it's not very good with video. It's not much memory, capacity.
Yeah.
I had to go shopping because, of course, it's been really hot here. And I came over expecting 4 degrees for some reason. I don't know why. I brought loads of jumpers and no warm clothes, I had jeans and sandals, but I had to go and buy something smart to wear on stage. And I found a very nice shop when I was out with Phoebe, just wandering around Shoreham, and I bought myself a silk top in teal. I nearly went for bright pink, and I'm glad I didn't, because the other, Ginny Bailey, the other female on the panel, had bright pink on. But this will make you laugh. So I'm sitting next to this Greek guy, Ilias, who has come from Athens that the previous day to speak at this thing. And he was there about some software he's created, which is apparently disrupting the coaching industry, although that wasn't his initial target market. And I said to him, he talked about gamification in his software. And I said, do you know Pete Jenkins? And he said, of course I do. He's chairman of GamFed. And I said, well, I'm having lunch with him tomorrow. And he said, do you know Vasily? And I said, well, I haven't actually met him, but I think he's in England at the moment, so I may well meet him tomorrow. He said, well, I know Vasily really well. And then when I put my picture up on Facebook, Vasily's going, well, what are you doing sitting next to Ferris? It was such a small world that, he was next to me on this panel, and I was having lunch with someone he works with the next day. Weird.
Well, thanks to the beauties of Facebook, I knew all of this. I knew about your teal top. I knew that Ginny was in pink. I knew that Ilios was sitting next to you. And I knew that Vasily wanted to join you.
I know, you can't get, there's no secrets or surprises anymore, is there?
Well, you're telling us for the benefit of the listener, obviously, which is something quite different. Anything else about your week?
No, I've been staying at Irving's. It's been very pleasant. I'm going out to lunch or dinner with lots of people, so I'm seeing lots of people in the flesh personally,
Mm-hmm.
and enjoying it enormously. And looking forward to going home on Sunday.
Yes, good.
What about you?
Well, rather similar, actually. I mean, I obviously haven't been on the stage at County Hall, but I took the day off yesterday and I went to meet my cousin Jane in Dorchester, which is about, I don't know, 20 miles south of here or something. And my grandparents fell out with her dad, which meant I didn't see Jane from childhood. But in 2014, she did a brilliant thing. She showed up at the last ever funeral of my aunties and uncles, the last of that generation, knowing that if she missed that opportunity, the cousins would never be able to catch up because we wouldn't have the connections. Well, first of all, how brave. How brave is that?
Oh, yeah, on a sad occasion as well.
Yeah, and we became Facebook mates that day. So that was March 2014. And yesterday we spent 4 hours together. And her dad, my Uncle Peter, was one of 6 children. My mother was the youngest. But Uncle Peter was a twin with Auntie Paddy. And Jane, of course, because of the twinness of her father and auntie, was very much like a combination of my Auntie Paddy, my mother, and my granny. So, I was wearing my mother's engagement ring. She was wearing her mother's engagement ring. She brought all these photographs to see. There were photographs of my parents' 30th wedding anniversary, which was in 1983. There were photographs of my grandparents' 6th golden wedding anniversary, where my brother was less than 10. It's my brother's birthday today, so I told him he's 61. I told him I'd seen a picture of him as a small boy yesterday. Yeah. And Jane and I had the twofer, 2 for 1, scampi and chips. I gave her a copy of my book and a tiny money-making tick. We're both waspy women, where our pensions have been stolen from us, and we're both very angry about that. The tissues came out occasionally, but interestingly, it was mostly about the death and dying of friends, not the old guard of our family, because, of course, when your family go, your parents and grandparents, that's you kind of, that's normal, natural, and you kind of acclimatise that to that in due course. But we're both very upset about, our people that we love and our contemporaries that have chosen us and we've chosen them. So it was lovely to be reunited, but it was all down to Jane pushing it with me on Facebook and being local to me in my new home. And the drive in both directions is absolutely beautiful, because Dorset is a so phenomenally beautiful country. It's hilly and up and downy, whereas Somerset, where I am, seems to be quite flat. And I already know it quite well because it's where my mother is from. And I'm also very impressed by the man, and I'm fairly convinced he's just one man in the UK who trims all the hedgerows. I mean, good job. You never see those elves that come out in the night and trim the hedgerows, but with my little car, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to see anything around these country lanes at all. So I had a lovely day out yesterday, as you did, different, but same buzz.
Yeah. It can't possibly be the same man, Judith.
No, I'm joking, Nicola. But, when I drive along there, I think, he's done a good job along here. In my mind, the same man. But I realise there's a team of elves. You do see them, but you hardly ever see them. So it's almost like they do this invisible job.
Yeah, I imagine it's not inaudible, though.
And also it's very neat. They do a very neat job, and I love neat, as you know.
Yeah, they do, you're right. What has fueled our fire this week?
Yes, you go first.
Well, I was expecting. I asked them to put up their hands who was an independent coach, because of course it was mostly coaches, consultants, and trainers in that room. 80% at least were independent. I thought it was going to be overwhelmingly corporate and associate coaching. Yeah. If it was, even the associate coaches identify it as being independent.
Yes.
And I was really very interested in that. But by the quality of the questions that came to me as well as to the other people, I would say that 10% in the room are even remotely marketing savvy.
Yeah.
And that really, there was the inevitable person who stood up and said, I just want to coach, I don't want to do any marketing.
Yes. We'd actually discussed that on Monday.
I had a little chuckle to that, I must say. But so it did fuel my fire, because it means that there's an awful lot of people being churned out of coaching school who haven't got a clue about how to market themselves online. So it made me feel that there was a huge market still relatively untapped for me.
I think that, and maybe that's why the majority of them choose to be associates, because then they hope that the boss is going to do the marketing and the client getting, don't they?
That's right, yes. And in fact, I did sit next to a gentleman, Dr. Simon Turner, he might have been. And he has a really big, successful associate coach company. You know, he delivers globally to really, really big name companies, and he's been phenomenally successful. And he says they've got a team of about 200 or 300 associates. And
yes. I bet he's not short of decent candidates either, is he?
No, he says he said the interesting thing was that they use the same 20% all the time, because those are the 20% that go above and beyond the call of duty to do the research on the companies and to take ownership of the job as if it was their company.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. Yeah.
I just noticed my microphone was unplugged there. So do I sound better now?
You sound exactly the same.
Oh, that's interesting. Right. Okay. So what's fueled your fire?
Is that it? That's very short.
Oh, no. Okay. Might be a short episode this week.
Okay, well, mine's very long, so that's good. I did a very interesting and enjoyable Entrepreneur of the Day call on Tuesday. Those are the free ones that they get. And with a woman who shall remain nameless. And I'm not even going to tell you what she does for a living either, because it would reveal too much. But I'm going to discuss the concepts that we covered in the call, because I thought they were fascinating and quite rare in my world. I always start by asking them to tell me all about themselves, which doesn't come easily to most. Obviously, it would to you and I talking about ourselves, but most people find that quite hard. And this lady, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of auditing and weighing it all up as I'm listening. And so I let them just run on until I've got questions to ask. And this lady was living in a part of the country that hadn't been her choice. And they'd moved there after her husband had been made redundant. And he had also been seriously ill with cancer. I'm not altogether sure what happened first, whether he got cancer first and got better and was made redundant, or vice versa, I don't know. But he's back working now. He had some work which was stimulating and not spectacularly well paid. And she helped him to find another thing he could do, which is in the same line, but where he could charge a better hourly rate. And he's already full up doing that. So he's back working and he's back contributing to the household income. Their daughter was born with something which means that she's lifelong poorly, but she too, in her early 20s, is now working in a field about which she's absolutely passionate, despite the fact that she will have these serious ongoing challenges, which probably means she'll always live with them, I imagine. And their son is now at the first year at university, absolutely loving it, and he already knows where he's going for his placement, and it couldn't be better. So all three of these people in her life that she's made so many sacrifices for, as a mother does over 20 years, are now in a great place in their respective lives. And she's held it all together for all of that time. Now, in that time, she's also unbelievably had a successful business which pays their bills, making beautiful, desirable things, but she doesn't really like that anymore, and it's a distraction from the thing she wants to be doing. And I asked her, how long did it take you to get it going? She said, oh, not very long. And then I said, and she said she'd done something else on the side which also took off like a rocket. And she described herself as being at a crossroads, because there's something else a bit different, but also adjacent, that she wants to do very badly. You know, she wants to do it with a burning passion because it's her life's work, and she's feeling very wobbly about it because it, you know, that's so personal. You know, when you can do anything, it's not personal. You're not offering yourself to the world, if you know what I mean. Yeah. She'd already started to do it. She'd done it. She'd taken her things to sell at a fair. They'd sold well, and I said, how much did you make? And she made 2.5 times the turnover she normally makes in a normal month. And she'd been told that her stuff was too cheap. And I asked her how long she thought it would take for this third thing, because don't forget she's had the 2 other things that have gone well. How long do you think it will take for this to take off? And in my head, because it's a little bit harder, but not really, I was thinking a year. And she said 6 months. And I went, you know, I was able to point out to her that she's got a cellular memory in her body that all of her self-employed projects she's ever done have been successful, taking off like rockets. And most of my clients don't have that. So she knows in her body, she's just rolling out another iteration of something she already knows how to do that has always gone well and gone well fast. I mean, how many people do you know that say quite confidently, even when they're a little bit nervous, oh yes, I'm fairly sure it's only going to take me 6 months to get this off the ground? Oh. And she saw that, she agreed, and I was able to talk her up into going for it, and a few others had done that already. She was obviously going to do that, but it was a very satisfactory call for us both, and I was able to leave her with a life-changing linguistic tip, which I'm going to tell you about in Words of the Week. But it was refreshing, because the self-doubt was not about her ability to make money out of her self-employed idea.
That's so interesting. You're absolutely right. There's so few people that have got that kind of confidence. And
Yeah.
And
Well, it doesn't come before, does it? It comes from doing. She's been resourceful. She's been the survivor. She's been the glue. Everything's all worked out, despite the fact they've had serious family challenges.
Yeah.
But that thing, you and I know this. We've done things in our business career, and we've done both sorts, things that haven't gone well and things that have gone well. And if you know how to do it because you've done it before, you're just rolling out another thing you already know how to do.
Yeah, so is the goal that she would,
ditch the rest? Yeah, well, sort of. I tried to persuade her. Actually, she had options, with a bit like we discussed on Monday about Clicks and Leads Academy. After you've shuffled off upstairs, she doesn't need to just dump the thing that's working. She can bring in somebody and they can do it, or she can sell it. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, I've got a drill here. Can you hear that?
No,
stop now. No, you might hear it. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Well, we're used to drilling, sawing, chopping.
Well, I mean, as soon as the sun comes out, so do the power tools.
So I'm interested to know why, if she has this, I'm totally not being casting aspersions or denigrating in any way, obviously, but I'm interested to know that someone who has that kind of confidence and that kind of back track record should want a call with a coach. Because
this is the one. The other ones were not the one. So it's a bit like when I did Heston's accounts and used to charge £28.50 for a 3-course meal. And when he offered the food on the plate, he felt he was offering himself. And until you have her new thing is a bit like that. She's offering herself. In the others, they've just been little businessy ideas, things that she could do. This is the one. And that feels more perilous. She'd also read my book, and I offer everybody a free one. So why not take it if you're feeling wobbly? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm always astonished that when people can book in, they don't. Why not?
Quite. I mean, she came over as incredibly, not incredibly. That's the wrong word. She came over as nervous because she's on the cusp of doing her life's work. But of course, typically, nobody ever gives themselves credit for what she's done in the family sense, or in the other business sense.
Yes.
So the audit that I was doing was saying, but look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And when she said 6 months, normally when I say to a client how much or how long, theirs is much longer than mine, and I'm being ambitious for them and saying it's going to be relatively quick, a year, and relatively profitable. In fact, 2.5 times the profit you're already making, which is what this woman had told me. But she underbid me. 6 months. Oh well, what are we fussing about then? 6 months is nothing, is it?
No, it isn't. It isn't at all. Well, I just realised on that topic that my first 1-year members are coming up for renewal.
Oh, bless.
And these are the people who came out of the dinner and a day last year. And I've just, because I gave them a year included in that. And I wrote to them this year and said, this week, and said it's time to renew. And I'm glad to say that the first one has renewed. So I've got a 100% renewal rate so far.
Marvellous. 1 out of 1. Excellent.
Yeah, exactly. And positive and optimistic.
Indeed, yes.
The next one is in June, and then there's 4 in August. So, obviously I'm still working on getting new people, but and I've got a new page up to that effect. And I'm going to do some marketing today at those coaches at the ICF, because I think I can really help them. So that'd be good. Now, focus of the week. I thought there was a lot of talk at this thing about what the future is going to be held for coaching. What's the future of coaching? What's the future of coaches? What's going to disrupt the industry? And there was a lot of software people exhibiting there. Lots of people who've created things like, software for psychometric testing. Ilias's thing was psychometric testing with gamification built in. There was a really nice young chap who came up and introduced himself, who's got a really lovely sort of quiz tool that some of his coach clients are using as a lead gen, because of course everyone loves a quiz, don't they? We want to fill it in Cosmopolitan to find out what kind of a lover we are, etc.
Yes,
the olden days, anyway.
Yep.
And so apparently so I want to check out this quiz, and I just thought it might be nice to have a talk about dancing in the future. Not that I don't ever do this. I don't ever think forward. I always just react to what happens. But the whole thought of this whole dancing in the future is what could come along to disrupt your industry? Could you disrupt your own industry to become the main player? Could you create some software that would help you either to market your business or would be a spin-off from what you normally do? Hint, if you use a spreadsheet for anything, it can be turned into software. And what do you think about the future for you as a coach? What do you think about the future for your clients as business people? And do you ever get people to think ahead, or are we always just reacting to what happens to us with our head down trying to make a living?
Oh, gosh. They're almost 3 topics of the week, aren't they?
Well, I know, and I've sprung this.
Have you got those written down? Have you got those written down, those 3 questions?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, because I need them again. The first one was, what do I think of for myself?
Okay, the future for you as a coach.
Yeah.
What is the future for your clients as business?
Now, are they coaches? That second topic. I couldn't get what you were saying there.
Most of yours aren't, are they? So
some are.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. So normal business people and coaches, particularly, and should we be planning for the future and trying to disrupt our industry so that we don't get disrupted, or should we just keep our heads down and concentrate on making a living on a day-to-day basis, but retaining the ability to be agile so that we can react to changing circumstances?
Well, I like the word agile a lot, and I definitely think you've got to be keeping your ear to the ground about what's going on. And I think probably most of my clients haven't got the time for that because they're trying to hang their family together and create a living in the first time round. But I think agility in business is essential, isn't it? Because, for instance, the cleaning business was replaced by an app and we didn't have the capital to invest in an app. And the only people who would cling on to that would be people who like a real human being. And I think there's quite a goodly number of people in the world who still like doing business with a human being, I think.
Absolutely. Well, there are 500 of them in the room,
yes,
paid to come and be connected with other human beings.
Well, I think that's the one thing that they never miss out on, isn't it? It's the gig, because self-employed people can get quite isolated working at home. The future for me as a coach, now, let's do this one. Typically, of course, and somewhat arrogantly, I think I'm unique, and I don't think people are paying to work with me because I'm a coach. I think they're paying to work with me because I'm me.
Yeah.
And I think they did the same when I was an accountant. Because I have a unique personal contribution that I can make to certain people. In fact, my brother said once, and I was talking about my accountancy business, he goes, "Yeah, Jude, but it's anybody can do accounts. The reason your clients are your clients is because of you." Yes, I think that's true. Yeah. And I think that's true now. The people that are my loyal clients who are in like year 4, it's because we're doing exceptional work together, because we know each other really well. We've become friends, we have a rapport which enables me, and they're in a growth position. I don't mean necessarily in their turnover, but they're in a human growth situation where we've created this trust where, in fact, I put a nice testimonial out on my Facebook page about this yesterday. Somebody who I'm going to speak to later today, who's been with me several times and then drops off and comes back. She sent me this message this week that I put out. Let me just find it while I'm talking. Fill in for me, caller. Facebook going a bit slow. Okay. And I think I think there's a vital difference between you and me as well that's pertinent to this. Hold on, let me find it. I can't find it now. I'll find it in a minute. There's a vital difference between you and me, and I'm, to a certain extent, more like the coaches yesterday than you are. So they went in it to coach people one-to-one to be with their clients, and so did I. And you didn't really. So we split right down the middle here, where you are more suitable to hang out with the software people, the gamification people, the quiz people, the turning it into a product, turning yourself into a book, turning yourself into a brand. You're much more that than I am, if that makes sense. Yeah. So we might have 2 different answers to this in a way, because what's the future of coaching? Do we mean, well, the future of coaching could be all sorts of things I'm not actually interested in, which keep me away from my clients. And I've got a very good business model to share with you in a minute on that topic. Yeah. Why don't you speak for a bit? Because I'm looking for this testimonial.
Okay. I've read lots of books about how to become a great coach and how to be with your client in the call and all that stuff. And I think that I do have my moments. I think I can hear and feel moments of crisis or, lack of self-confidence on things. I think I can, when I'm coaching someone around creating content, it's all about their self-esteem, because often that's the one thing that stops them getting in front of a camera. And it could have stopped me, but I didn't let it.
Yeah.
So I do think that I'm quite an intuitive person when it comes to feeling that there's a real reason behind the reason they're giving me. And that is what I think of as pure coaching,
Yes,
rather
I agree. Yep.
than teaching them something and showing them a tactic or a technique.
Yeah.
But I also know that I would never be brave enough to do what Rachel Turner, my first coach, did, who I saw the other day, by the way, looking gorgeous.
Yes, I've seen her picture this morning. Did she do that low carb, by the way? Do you know?
She did low. Yeah, she did low carb. Yes,
because she kept asking me some very clever questions about it.
Yeah, and she is very much a pure coach in the fact that all her clients come from referral. She only wants to work one-to-one or in rooms where she goes to their business.
Yeah.
And she's the polar opposite. But I wouldn't be confident and no, that's not right. I'd be completely confident in the coaching. What I wouldn't be confident in is the next client showing up magically. I feel I need to be more proactive in my marketing to find clients than a lot of these coaches seem to want to be.
And do you know what? I have a sneaking suspicion that keeps creeping up the back of my neck and tapping me on the shoulder. I don't know whether that's actually physically possible, but which my inner temptress is saying to me, just stop marketing, Judith, just stop marketing. Oh, there's somebody at the door. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I'm back. It was the postwoman.
So it wasn't a sneaking suspicion coming by another route.
No, it wasn't. But it's a parcel for me, which is a bit rare because nobody knows I'm living here. But yes, I am getting these temptations to stop marketing. Even before I came on the call to you this morning, I thought the little safety conscious me thought, well, perhaps I'll do it in August when I'm off anyway. But actually, I don't think that's. Oh, wow. What fun. One of my clients has just sent me 2 tubs of Play-Doh, which I remember saying she got for her birthday sometime. I remember thinking, oh, I quite envy you, the Play-Doh. It's arrived today.
What colour is it?
Yellow.
Oh, very nice.
No, I don't know what colour it is. I think it might be pink. The lids are pink and the pots are yellow. When I open the pots, they should be pink, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should. Yeah, you should have different colours.
Yes.
I remember it stinks, Play-Doh. It makes you smell very bad.
It does. Anyway, I think it will be meditative. Now, let's go back to the point. I hear what you're saying very much about marketing. I'm not surprised to hear you saying you don't trust it to come. Does Rachel trust it to come, or does she actually invest in quite a lot of networking and stuff?
She does quite some very subtle stuff on the networking. So she'll reach out to previous clients, remind them that she's there, remind them that she's there for any of their friends or colleagues that might need help. She works in organisations, so she tends to work with teams as well as individuals. So there's quite a lot of the networking thing going on. Yeah. I was just thinking while you went to answer the door whether you might not have already done enough marketing for there to be enough footprints out there on the web for your potential ideal future client to find you.
Yes, I think you could be right. Yeah.
Because one of the things that I said from the stage was, it's all very well saying that you just want to coach, but you don't want to market. But how do you expect your potential future clients to find you if you don't do any marketing?
Did they have any answers to that, Nicola?
No, they didn't know, because I only had 3 minutes.
Yeah,
a few minutes to answer each question. So, and the other thing was, talking of the future, I do believe, I made the point about Phoebe and Nelson never opening their emails and never looking at anyone's websites, and about how, you had found that more and more of your clients now were coming via social media, direct message, rather than the contact form on your website. And I do think that anyone, the problem is that most of those people in the room don't even have a website or a mailing list. They haven't even got, and they were making a big deal of Twitter. They had a Twitter wall, which was fantastic fun, and I'm not, good on them for doing it, where you could go up and you could put your own tweet on the wall as if you were tweeting from the future, which was quite fun. So you could tweet from today about the conference, or you could tweet from any one of 10 decades into the future, and send your tweet back. And they were tweeting them with the hashtag and everything. So it was a really nice initiative. But I thought to myself, you do know that Twitter's been going 12 years. It's not a new thing.
No, I know. And I've never had a single client from it. We discussed it the other day.
Yeah. But, it was just interesting. But I thought, do we, as business people, and coaches have to become business people as well, otherwise, they're not going to have a business. Do us as business people, should we be looking to the future? Should we be trying to work out what will happen in the next year, what will happen in the next 5 years, what will happen in the next 10 years? should we be looking to, I mean, they said, Nicola's going to tell you you're going to need an app. And I said, well, that's actually not what I'm going to say, but I am going to say, if your clients aren't reading emails and they're not visiting websites, how are they going to find you and how are you going to communicate with them?
Yeah.
So it's just a question of working out what's right for you.
I think the future for me, age 63, is I'll just stop doing it.
You're going to retire?
Well, not as such, but instead of going out and inviting the world to come to me, I'll probably do what you just said, which is lie back a bit. And if people rock up, I'm going to turn it all over to pay what you want. I'm going to simplify the website. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to convert everybody eventually to pay what you want. And if they want to book one in and pay for one, and I'm available for it, and I have fewer sessions in my diary than I do now, I'll always want to be available to people who think I can help them.
Yeah, yeah. And you do a very responsive kind of coaching, don't you? You're led by the client completely, and you don't have any. I mean, you've got.
No, I don't have a program to roll out. I find the uniqueness of them is what makes it interesting.
Yeah. Whereas I like them to start. Then they like having a structure of something to work through. I've taken the first 14 days of my 30-day challenge and put that into the membership site as a quick start. Your first 2 weeks, quick start.
Yes, I do think clients are often asking me for structure. And I certainly think if you're teaching them something like that, then there's structure involved. However, I don't think life is structured. I don't think self-employment is structured. I think it's quite the opposite. I think it's freelancing. That's why I love it. It's all over the shop. So the work that I do with, when this woman turned up on Tuesday and we had this long chat, I had no idea what she was going to say. And I like that. I don't want to turn up and think, oh, they're going to talk to me about that again. I've never, ever had that single thought ever.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. So thinking about your clients now then,
the
ones who've been with you for the last 3 years or whatever, what do you think they need to be aware of for the next 3 years?
Well, interestingly, if we're going to talk about, let's start by talking about the coaches, because I do believe, and I don't think this is a limiting belief, I think it's quite close to the truth, that coaching is one of the hardest things to market.
It certainly is, yes.
And so I try to prepare them for that. Do you want to take on why on earth have we taken on the burden of a business that's hard to market? Why didn't we pick something that was easy to market? That's question number one, existential question number one. Question number two so given that doesn't put them off, and it doesn't, I try to prepare them for how long it might take. So I don't hypnotize them into believing it's going to take a long time. I'd say it might take a while. And so basically what I do is sit back and watch them discover how right I was about that. But they're grateful when it happens. And if you love the work, then you're quite motivated to do it during the lean times. And there are lean times and there's feast and famine to it because it's a very hard business model. But all other businesses, the one trend that I see, and we've been talking about it here all the time, is the we're all in the dance band on the Titanic. As it sinks, we are more inclined to buy things we want than things we need. So if I were, the conversation we had on Monday about if we were starting over, what we would do, I would want to be in that sector where people make impulse purchases over things they love. You wouldn't
be wanting to sell the picks and shovels then, which is what a lot of these people on these stands were selling, picks and shovels to the coaching industry.
What do you mean picks and shovels?
Well, tools like the gold rush. The people who made the real money were the people who were selling jeans and shovels.
And what you mean the tools of psychometric testing, quizzing, and gamification?
Yes.
No, but bores the knickers off me. Not interested.
No, I know. It doesn't.
So no, I wouldn't want to be selling them that. No. Do you mean selling the clients that they should have those tools?
No, it's a bit like me. I sell marketing to coaches, among other people, business people as well. But I'm selling the tools, aren't I? I'm not trying to teach them how to be better coaches. I'm not training coaches in the first place. I'm from 20 years' experience of being a coach. I'm trying to sell them a marketing system that I know work for me and will work for them.
Yes.
So I'm selling the tool. It's a tool, isn't it? Rather than the thing itself.
And the thing itself in this example would be what? Me teaching them how to be better coaches?
Yes.
No, I'm not interested in that either. No, exactly. I'm teaching them how to build a business around it, but by and large, it would be the other side of your coin. I don't ever think of things in terms of structure or tools or give me a plan I can follow, because I'm an entrepreneur. So I've got my own ideas every morning and I implement my own ideas and I experiment with my own ideas. So I share with them how my ideas have worked and I share with them how other people's ideas have worked. And if they ask me for structure or tools, I might send them in your direction.
Yeah. I had lunch with Pete Jenkins yesterday, who's in this, he's like one of the world leaders of gamification.
Yes.
he is so overwhelmed with opportunity. He doesn't know which way to turn, because he gets asked to do speaking gigs. He gets gets flown out to Kuala Lumpur to do 2-day workshops. He's got the Gamification Europe conference. He's now putting on masterclasses. He simply doesn't know which way to turn for opportunity, which is, he's riding a rising tide, isn't he? That's
yes, of something that no longer interests me. So it never interested me, and what that tells me is that I'm past it. I don't want to learn about gamification. I'm not interested. I'm 63. Eventually, I want to have leisure time to read and write more.
Yeah. So,
how old is Pete?
Oh, he's younger than me. Yeah, he's at least 10 years younger than me. So.
Yeah, I'll give you a Kuala Lumpur story. Today is my brother's 61st birthday, and he was the bank manager in Kuala Lumpur when he was 40, and I flew out there secretly. And today, in the newspaper, unbelievably, a Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, voted back in the prime minister who was prime minister when my brother was there, and because he was in the foreign bank, he had to go and have meetings with this foreign prime minister. Today, that man is 92 and has, in the intervening years, been part of some kind of arrangement, rather like Nelson Mandela, where his number two, that my brother believed 20 years ago was the nation's only hope, was imprisoned. And when this 92-year-old has been asked in the papers today how he plans to run his country, he's going to get the man out of prison and get him to run it for him. And we just sat there talking about, my brother said at least 3 times, unbelievable, like this. He couldn't believe what was going on, talking about backward stuff in Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so let's go to the first one. How much what's really interesting about this is not coaching per se, but how much should any small business, which is mainly our listeners, I think, solopreneurs and small businesses, how much should they look to the future? Well, of course, if you're a bigger business, you have people on team whose job it is to do that.
Yeah. Yes, future strategists, aren't they?
Yes, and they do quite lazy things, like they just create different iterations of the same product. So, for instance, Cadbury's doesn't just come in a bar now it comes in a bag of bite-sized nibbles. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same product in a different format to keep us all interested
in
their thing. Yeah, new, exactly. And the Nicola's family, they call it new sweets. And there's a race between the grannies and the aunties to make sure the grandchildren have seen and tasted the new sweets. Yeah, I don't know, Nicola. I don't know the answer to any of these questions. They're really hard. Nobody, even Warren Buffett always says he can't predict the future.
No, absolutely, you can't. And so you really, in the same way that one of the big hotel chains should have set up Airbnb, they really dropped the ball there.
Yeah.
And so yes, it is interesting to think about it and just think about what tools could help you, or how can you.
Are you talking about future proofing?
Well, that was another word that was around a lot, yes.
Yeah.
Because if any of us, and there were people who had intimations of what was going to happen in 2009, 2010, but I don't think any of us saw what the combination of events.
No, I agree.
I agree. But then there must have been people who had strategies to withstand that kind of environment.
Well, I think that it's quite hard, actually, because that was so extreme that you can't be 100% ready for extreme. You can be a bit ready for extreme, but after that, certainly things, and I learned this again from my brother, they certainly made preparations for all sorts of weird things happening. I don't know if you know recently that was it Kentucky Fried Chicken ran out of chicken for 3 weeks or something?
I don't know, did they?
Yeah, it was one of the famous Nando's, I think it was. Anyway, whatever. One of the famous, global
chicken
chains of chicken thing ran out of chicken for 3 weeks because they switched, logistical distributor.
Yeah.
And it caught everybody by surprise, and they basically couldn't supply their shops for 3 weeks. And people who were addicted to the bargain bucket, something I realised I've never eaten, couldn't cope.
Oh, God.
So, I like it when I see big businesses make
fundamental errors.
Yeah, I do, because the point is they're still run by human beings as well. And we can't predict the future. Being a futurologist is quite a hard thing, a very hard thing. There's probably only about 6 of them in the world, aren't there?
No, I know. And the real way to keep your ear to the ground. I went out for dinner with Kim last night, and after a lunch with Pete, I was feeling quite stuffed by the evening. And Kim told me about a really fascinating, because she's in the gift box.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Have you heard of letterbox hampers?
But that squidge in sideways, like I wouldn't have needed to answer the door just now to my pots of Play-Doh, because they come in a different low-level format.
They come in the right size to fit through your letterbox. But
like my contact lenses do.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so those are now they Kim's partner's company is moving into the future with those. So there's a wine club now that sends your wine in flat pack bottles. They come through, exactly like the contact
You
lenses.
see, I'm not sure I'd want that, would you? Because part of the romance of wine drinking, not that I do it anymore, is that it comes in a bottle-shaped bottle.
Yeah, well, apparently the younger people don't care about that. They
don't care what it comes in as long as they can glug it and they're not inconvenienced by the postman having to leave it somewhere where they're out at work.
Exactly. And apparently the last big deal in the wine industry was the screw top.
Yes, it was,
Nobody wanted a bottle of wine.
No, they didn't. But we did adapt to that in the end because it meant more reliable supplies. Yeah,
exactly. None of that fusty, musty
stuff. It seemed unromantic at the beginning again. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So she was telling me all about this. And as is typical, we came up with a whole business idea based around these things that could be posted through people's letterbox and involving the subscription model. And I'm terrified to go back to Greece and tell it to Stephanie because we've already had an idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do like the subscription model. There's no room in my budget for anything like this.
No. And I don't want to be dependent. I mean, I did join Naked Wines because I did enjoy wine at the time and you did get stupendous bargains. And as it turned out, I saved enough from being in Greece where I forgot to cancel the standing order of £10 a month because it was so little I didn't even notice it. I ended up saving up enough for the whole family for wine and champagne at Christmas.
Marvellous.
Yeah, but yes, I wouldn't sign up to anything. I fiercely resist recurring billing now.
Yeah, and you see, so I've just negated. You resist recurring billing, so it's inauthentic for us to sell on that basis. But we know it's a great business model, and I just said I would be in the retail desire space, but I don't buy any of that. So that would be inauthentic for me to be in that too. It's a conundrum, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But I suppose you have to sell how your customers want to buy. And just because we're mavericks and we've been...
Well, what I'm saying is we're not the right people to sell it to them then. I think you've got to be passionate about the thing you're selling. I don't want my wine in funny contact lens, flat-shaped bottles. And it's a bit like somebody saying once in my friend Nicola's office, where, you can roast your chicken in a bag, and Nicola's boss said, I don't want to cook my chicken in a bag, and Nicola said she didn't either. It's about snobbishness versus convenience, isn't it?
Yes, it stops it splattering the oven.
Well, and if you bought a proper decent organic chicken, you don't want to cook it in a bag, darling. So they were just being snobbish, these two, and the other man in the office was a convenience merchant. It's hard, this. I remember hearing an interview once which really affected me about the man who owned at the time JD Sports, and it was on the radio during a World Cup football, and they were selling gazillions of footballs, and he was talking about football, and somebody said to him, what team do you support? He said, I can't stand football. So he was completely okay by selling something he knew the nation loved and wanted, but he wasn't interested in at all. I think I would find that hard.
Well, I imagine it'd be hard to make good decisions around that product because you're
except he's a big business, so he's got a team of football enthusiasts, hasn't he?
Well, we got off the point a bit now. So do we think our small business owners, stroke coaches, do need to think ahead and try and work out what's going to disrupt their...
I don't think they've got enough RAM. The clients at the stage I work with them, I don't think they've got enough RAM. I think if you're a startup and in the early years, you probably haven't got enough RAM. I think there's a risk that thinking ahead and creating new ideas is going to sabotage the ones you're trying to launch now. I think when you get to the medium stage, the confident stage, it runs itself. I'm looking for new ideas. Yes, definitely. And if you think you're flogging a dead horse and people aren't buying that stuff anymore, then definitely.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, there we go. We found a focus, and we flogged it.
We have. But hard questions, Nicola, all those ones about. I mean, I like the expression "dancing in the future" a lot, but hard.
I think they did that to make it feel light and
interesting. Yes, and I think what I definitely think will happen is that we'll surprise ourselves.
Yeah.
So we'll contradict ourselves, and one day I'll say to you, that thing I said about not being interested in gamification? Well,
Yeah, I've got a gamified app.
Yeah.
What you're going to say to me one day. Yeah. Hilarious. So what is your word of the week then?
Oh, yes. Let me go back to my notes. It's been so distracting. Play-Doh and postman. And it is and. my word of the week is and, used instead of but. And this is I'm sorry to the NLPers listening, this is the only interesting thing I learned in all of my study of NLP. And I've spent quite a lot of time studying NLP, actually. I've been to a whole week and various other gigs. But this lady in the Entrepreneur of the Day call kept saying, I'm but and when you say but, as you know this very well, but when you say but in the middle of a sentence, all people hear is, oh God, there's bad news coming, and they completely obliterate the first sentence, and then it all goes downhill after that. And so she would say something good about herself, like I'm an X, and then she would say, but I'm not very established yet, and blow it. And I said, look, if you could just do one thing and change that word from but to and, I'm an X and I'm not very established yet. You keep it all in the realm of possibility. You don't take it downhill into the room of, oh, it's all hopeless.
Yeah.
So anybody listening, if they notice, and then I said, go and tell your husband, because he's a psychologist, he'll understand this. And he came straight back and he said, oh yes, he says, I say it all the time. And I said, well, now you're both looking out for it. Stop it immediately and change it to and. And then and opens up possibility, whereas but closes it all down.
Yeah, very good. I like that one a lot. Mine is connection, because I've spent the whole week connecting with people in the person, in the face to face.
Yes.
And this time around, I've enjoyed it. So last time, all the other times I've been coming home, I've felt like it was an onerous duty.
Like a spare part. Yes, I remember. Yeah.
And but this time I've actually really thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been really enjoyable.
Well, we're both getting surprisingly social. In fact, my newsletter tomorrow is all about how weird I've become, and it's called Weirdo.
Reaching out and seeing people.
And seeing people, yes, having days off and sitting in pubs. Weird.
That's quite usual for me.
Yeah, not for me.
No. Okay, so what is where are your projects up to?
Nothing. I've got nothing. I'm not really working on anything new, nor do I have significant results to report on existing or old.
Well, that's
nothing.
That.
So I'm just not good. I've got nothing. I'm so busy with, taking days off to go and spend it with my cousin. Just one person alone has only got so much time.
Yeah.
I haven't got time for new projects. I'm still finishing up, the making content out of my existing projects. And, it's a little bit blah to keep talking about that week after week.
Yes, I suppose so. Well, we could drop that section.
Well, no, let's see.
Okay, let's see.
And let's do it when we've got something to say and not when we haven't. I can see you're desperately trying to log into Libsyn or something.
I am. I've got LastPass, and I've chosen a password that I really have to repeat about 10 times before I get in.
You tell us this every week, but it's true. I know. I've opened my pot of Play-Doh. It is indeed pink, and the smell isn't as bad as I remember. Maybe they've changed the formula.
Yeah, they must have. You can make Play-Doh yourself,
I know, but this is a present.
Desperate for it.
I'm not desperate for it, but when a client got some as a present, I think I'd probably quite like some of that.
So are you going to sit and make things with it? What's the plan?
I have no idea. I'm just going to have a go later. Today I've got a phenomenal day, 9:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night. I haven't got time for anything today.
Oh, well, you can use it as a stress buster. You can sit and
yeah, no, well, I think that's probably what I intend to use it for, actually.
Yeah, cool. Well, I can't get into my own password, so we can't look up the Libsyn stats. But
terrible shame.
I did have a look a couple of days ago, and we haven't had any more spikes. So
okay. Oh, bummer. We need a spike.
It's trolling on as usual.
Okay.
What's happening? Sarah's starting to look at our Amazon FBA store videos today, so I'll be interested to see what she comes up with.
Okay.
That's my side project.
That is indeed a project update, yes.
Yes, and I'm not actually doing it myself, so that's the
I was going to say, note gentle listener Nicola's strategy to get her sister to do it.
My whole family hate it when I say I've had a brilliant idea.
Yeah, because they know it's going to cost them, you mean?
It's not going to cost them time, money or effort.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so who or what's impressed this week?
Well, I think you're going to be surprised by what I'm going to say, actually. Yeah. I've got here pubs at lunchtime and in the evenings. Recently, with all these meetings I've been doing, weirdo, I've been to several pubs, which isn't something I normally do as a non-drinker. They're not my natural habitat. But I'm impressed by how, relatively speaking, female-friendly they are, how consequently full of pairs of women all chatting the hind legs off a donkey. I mean, my cousin and I yesterday met at 11:45 and we talked until 3:45. I'm impressed by things like, I'm impressed by their marketing initiatives. So Jane and I had a two for one, you know.
Yeah.
And we had, if you buy 2 main meals, one of you gets it free. Well, bargain. And last, on my birthday, when I went to meet Penny in quite a posh pub, it was $11.95 for a 2-course lunch. Well, I think that's a bargain. And then when I went to meet Henry and Tara and we went to the quiz, which packed out the pub, these are marketing initiatives and incentives. Well done, because the results in all the pubs I've been in have been self-evident. People are in there spending money. I rest my case, going back to the point I made earlier about if I was starting again, what would I want to do? I'd want to do something that people like having fun doing.
Yes, I was sat for several hours in a pub with Kim last night, and it was very female friendly, and there were nice people, and the food was great, and they must make their money on the beers and wines. But
yes,
yep. But even though soft drinks, they're not cheap, are they?
No, they're not. No.
God, actually, I was really shocked at the cost of a bottle of good Sauvignon Blanc last night. I nearly fell off my stool.
Well, actually, when we had twofer, scampi and chips, the one was $11.95. I said, well, I think that $11.95 for one scampi and chips is quite a lot of money anyway. I might be wrong. We might have gone for the $8.95, but whatever. I thought the one, I don't really know what things cost because I mainly look after myself at home. So I agree with you that, who said there was a review on, those review sites, TripAdvisor and things like that. Yeah. Somebody had put on this monstrous review for quite a posh restaurant up north somewhere where they'd said that the champagne was 90 quid a bottle and the red wine was 120 quid a bottle. And the member of their party that was going to drink the red wine, you won't believe this, what I'm about to tell you, likes to drink it with lemonade.
What?
And the only lemonade that the restaurant had was cloudy. So would they mind popping to the corner shop to get a bottle of the rather naff stuff? And this slightly posh restaurant was deemed to be unhelpful to them. And so they went on to TripAdvisor and left this awful review, 1 star, because their waiting staff wouldn't run to the corner shop to fetch naff lemonade for them to water down their £120 bottle of red wine.
Well, I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, I know, it's weird, isn't it? It's just a weird story, to be honest. But the point of this story is that the champagne was 90 quid a bottle. I don't think I could bring myself to pay that in a restaurant for it.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It is ridiculous. And talking about what things cost, if I feed myself and cook at home in Greece, I'm going to spend pretty much the same as if I would and went out and ate in a taverna, because it's 10 to 15 euros all in for 3 courses and your wine. And you can't cook at home cheaper than that.
No, I know. Yeah. So, were you going to tell us who or what's impressed you?
Yes, I was just thinking about that restaurant and
I know, and watering down your red wine with not even nice lemonade, with horrid lemonade.
Well, I mean, it's just...
It takes your breath away, doesn't it?
The whole story is just shocking.
Well, it's quite surreal, actually, because in my reality, which I realise isn't the real reality, there's no such thing, but in my reality, he just made himself look like a muppet by putting that on TripAdvisor to begin with. And all the posh people are sucking in their teeth and going, he waters down his red wine with cheap corner shop lemonade.
But
oh, darling, we don't want him in our restaurant, no wonder.
Yeah. I mean, you do see when you go into a taverna and ask for something, and the little boys scuttling out the back and coming
quite. And actually, this restaurant said, under normal circumstances, if he hadn't been such a tosser, we would have run out the back to fetch him. Yeah,
there we have it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend to you. Of course, I'm going to recommend the ICF and Ginny Bailey. But Ginny Bailey particularly impressed. She's an MCC, which is a master certified coach or something. I haven't got any certifications at all, you may know. But she really was very, very impressive. She gave off a fantastic, strong, calm energy for the day, so that made all the speakers feel nice and calm, and she was very impressive all round. But the thing I really want to recommend is Pete recommended to me yesterday, and it fits with the theme of the day, which is strategy and foreseeing the future. He's recommended a book called Playing to Win by A.G. Lafley, Lafley, and I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to be reading it because it sounds like the kind of thing I much enjoy. He said it's a very readable book by a guy who used to do strategy for Procter & Gamble, and he said he weaves lots of good stories in. He talks about how, as a small business owner, he gives you a workable plan to create your strategy, and in fact he's going to put all his opportunities that are coming at him thick and fast, and he doesn't know which ones to do or which ones to choose. He's going to run it through this sort of system in this book and see what comes out at the other end. So haven't read it yet, but highly recommended by Pete, who's a good bloke.
Okay. So that's it, Nicola. See you next week.
See you next week, Judith.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.
How do